It's Michael. Good morning, everyone. So today we continue our lesson with the ground tissue. Okay. So now, when it comes to specialized plant cells, they are dermal tissue, ground tissue, and vascular tissue. Right. So today we are going to focus on the ground tissue. Right. So they are the parenchyma tissue, collenchyma tissue, and sclerenchyma tissue. Right. So these are the ground tissue. Okay, that is derived from these cells. These are the specialized plant cells. Right. So these are the specialized plant cells. Now to be in a bigger picture, these are all the specialized plant cells, and from these specialized plant cells we have this specialized plant tissue. Right. So from this specialized plant tissue we have this specialized plant system. Right. So parenchyma, collenchyma cells, and sclerenchyma cells. The sclerenchyma cells consist of sclerites or fibers. So there are two types of sclerenchyma cells: sclerites or fibers. All right. And the function of these specialized plant cells, when it comes to parenchyma cells, they are for storage, secretion. They can secrete oil, okay, and other substances, okay, and then to run photosynthesis. Collenchyma cells mainly for support, okay. Sclerenchyma cells mainly for support and to give strength to that plant. Okay, so now let's dig into this ground tissue system. All right, now what is ground tissue? So ground tissue is a simple non-meristematic tissue, all right, that consists of parenchyma tissue, collenchyma tissue, and sclerenchyma tissue. Okay, now let's go to the first one, the parenchyma tissues. Right, in terms of structural features, okay, parenchyma tissues are tissues with the least differentiation cells. Okay, with the least differentiation cells. So this is how they look like. Okay, this is the parenchyma tissues, and this is the parenchyma cells. And then they are spherical, obviously you can see from here. All right, spherical and maybe oval in shape. Okay, then they are living cells with thin primary cell wall that is flexible. Okay, thin primary cell wall that is flexible. Okay, now when it comes to this cell wall, okay, every plants, most of the plants, they have primary and secondary cell wall. Right, when it comes discussion on this primary and secondary cell wall will be available in the video on the membrane characteristics of cells later on. Okay, later on. Okay, let's go with the parenchyma tissues. All right, it has big and centrally located vacuole. You can see that their vacuole here is huge and located centrally. Okay, so this vacuole stores starch, water, and oil. And then this parenchyma tissues protoplast, or parenchyma cells protoplast, okay, may store starch grains. Okay, what else? Salts or oil droplets. Okay, and then has chloroplast if located in the leaves. Okay, parenchyma tissues they are located almost every part of the plants. If they are located in the leaves, those parenchyma tissues has chloroplast. Okay, loosely arranged. Okay, so has large intercellular space. You can see the large intercellular space here. Okay, to allow easy exchange of gases. Okay, they are loosely arranged, and these parenchyma tissues are very contradicted with the collenchyma and sclerenchyma in terms of structural features. Okay, so again, please take note, parenchyma cells, all right, they are loosely arranged. Then these parenchyma cells, okay, have the ability to differentiate into other kind of cells when the plant is injured. Now, example, if xylem cells are severed or injured, all right, so the adjacent parenchyma cells will divide and differentiate into new xylem cells within few days. Okay. These parenchyma tissues provide support in herbaceous plants when parenchyma cells are turgid and tightly packed. Okay. If the parenchyma cells are not turgid, they will not be tightly packed. Okay, and they will go back to their original configuration, which is loosely arranged. Okay, loosely arranged. Now, functions. Okay, as a photosynthetic tissues in the mesophyll, in the leaves, and in young stems. Okay, because apparently these parenchyma tissues, they are green in color in the leaves, meaning to say they have chloroplasts. And in young stem, what is the color of a young stem? Usually it's green, right? So meaning to say those young stems has parenchyma tissues, and those parenchyma tissues has chloroplasts. That's why in young stems they are green in color. Okay, and then as storage tissue in the cortex and pith of stem and roots. Now recall back these two diagrams in your module, right? Okay, now this is a cross section of the stem. So this is the pith, this is the cortex, right? Recall in the previous video I mentioned that you must know the location of pith, cortex, and this is obviously the epidermis. Okay, so as storage tissue in the cortex and pith of stem. So we need to say in the pith here as well as in the cortex here, right, are where the parenchyma tissues are located. Got it? Okay, now when it comes to the root, okay, it is not shown here, all right, only the cortex. So if this is the cortex, okay, so the parenchyma tissues are located here in the cortex as well as in the pith. But where is the pith here? Okay, the pith is somewhere around here. Okay, this is the xylem. If this is the xylem, the parenchyma tissues must be just adjacent to the xylem, so somewhere around here. Okay, as well as here. Okay, and between these parenchyma tissues are located here, right, which is next to the xylem as well as just next to the phloem. So this will be the phloem, this region here. Okay, so you can conclude that parenchyma tissues, okay, can be found between the phloem and the xylem, which is in the pith. This is the pith, right, where the parenchyma tissues are located between xylem and phloem. Okay, sini pun sama juga, ada parenchyma tissue atau parenchyma cells. Okay, and then another function of parenchyma tissues are as packing tissue around the vascular bundle. Okay, so ini vascular bundle, betul kan? Alright, consists of the xylem, phloem, okay, and vascular cambium. So di mana parenchyma tissue ini? Tepi ni, alright, at the sides here, as packing tissue around the vascular bundle. Ini vascular bundle, right, class? Vascular bundle, ada xylem, ada phloem, okay, and vascular cambium. Ini vascular cambium. Recall back in the previous video, the previous lesson. Okay, vascular cambium ni dia akan provide secondary xylem and secondary phloem. Betul kan, untuk secondary growth. Okay, so ini sini ada parenchyma tissue. Now distributions, function yang keempat, right, as epidermis to protect the cells beneath. Okay, as epidermis to protect the cell beneath. Now distribution in the cortex of stems and roots, pith of dicotyledonous stem and monocotyledonous roots, right? So I believe I don't have to explain where is cortex, where is pith already. You should know. Okay, now other locations where these parenchyma cells can be found is in the medullary rays or pith rays. This is the pith rays, right? These are all the pith rays or medullary rays. Okay, medullary rays of the secondary xylem and secondary phloem. Now you recall back, this is the primary xylem. Yang merah ni, yang pink ni ialah secondary xylem, which you are able to determine, okay, the age of a woody plant, right, based on the numbers rings from this secondary xylem. And then we have this secondary phloem yang light blue ni, okay, and then ni lah primary phloem yang dark blue ni. Okay, so this is where yang medullary rays ini, di mana parenchyma cells can be found. Senang cerita, hampir semua bahagian tumbuhan ada parenchyma cells. Okay, and then in the mesophyll of the leaves, this is the upper epidermis with the cuticle, which is derived from the protoderm. Okay, and this is consists part of the dermal tissue, right? So now in the mesophyll of a leaf, all right, these parenchyma cells, they are known as the palisade parenchyma or palisade mesophyll, and this is the spongy mesophyll or spongy parenchyma. Okay, berbeza kan? Okay, palisade ni dia squarish, and this spongy they are spherical. Okay, these are the only parenchyma cells that has chloroplast. Okay, the palisade parenchyma or palisade mesophyll, and the spongy parenchyma or spongy mesophyll. So parenchyma cells in the leaves, okay, they are living, actively metabolizing, right, and has thin primary cell walls. Yes, the same goes for the other parenchyma cells, right? So the function of parenchyma cells, all right, for storage of food, right, starch, what else, oil droplets, okay, banyak lagi. Okay, secretion, because since they store oil, they can secrete oil as well, right, like wax, for example. Okay, and for photosynthesis, obviously, because they have chloroplast. Okay, so parenchyma cells in the stem, right, this is how they look like, very much similar, all right, that's why they are grouped as parenchyma cells. Functions, when it comes to functions, very similar with the ones in the leaves. Okay, storage, secretion, and or for photosynthesis, right? Or photosynthesis means if these parenchyma cells in the stem, right, in young stems, right, these parenchyma cells are in young stems, that is green in color. Older stems or matured stems, they don't have they have parenchyma, but parenchyma without the chloroplast. Okay, parenchyma cells in the roots, all right, okay, storage, secretion, right, or photosynthesis. Okay, wait, roots, photosynthesis, yes, there are some plants where their roots is their roots are above the ground, right? So these roots, they are greenish in color. So for that particular roots, it has parenchyma cells that can run photosynthesis. Otherwise, roots that is buried under the ground, okay, they don't have chloroplast, so they can't undergo photosynthesis, and their function is primarily for storage and secretion. Okay, now collenchyma tissues, okay, these are the tissue where the cells have thickened, right, thickened with non-uniform primary cell wall, right? So they are, when it comes to their primary cell wall, it is thickened, all right, and then is non-uniform. Okay, now there are two types of collenchyma cells, okay, angular and lamellar. Angular means the thickened, right, of the primary cell wall is at the corner, okay, and lamella, the thickening of the primary cell wall is at the tangential wall. Now, how do you differentiate between this angular collenchyma cell and lamellar collenchyma cells, or angular collenchyma tissues with the lamella collenchyma tissues. Okay, now angular, right, like what I mentioned previously, the thickened at the corner. Now if you look here, this is an angular collenchyma cell, right, or an angular collenchyma tissues that has angular collenchyma cell, because the thickening of the primary cell wall is at the corner. Tengok di corner ni. Okay, if lamella, the thickening will be at the sides here, alright, at the sides here, at the sides. That's why it's called lamella. Okay, tangential wall yang tepi ni. Tangential maksudnya tepi, tangential. So dia akan tebal sini as well as here. Okay. So now, if you look at this diagram here, this is more like lamella collenchyma tissues, right? Because the thickening of the primary cell wall is at the tangential wall, right? Tangential wall. Okay. But for this diagram here, all right, these are the angular collenchyma tissues, where the thickening of the primary cell wall is at the corners. Okay. Now, their cell wall is not lignified. Okay, the same goes for the parenchyma tissues. Their cell walls are not lignified. Okay, not lignified. Cells are alive with protoplast and nucleus. Always remember that. The same goes for the parenchyma. Their cells are alive with protoplast and nucleus. But for these collenchyma tissues, their collenchyma cells, they don't have chloroplasts. All right, they don't have chloroplasts. So you can see the collenchyma tissues here. All right, nampak kan? Yang ini ialah parenchyma. Okay, they are big, loosely arranged. Okay, so ini ialah collenchyma. Okay. So if this is the collenchyma, where is the parenchyma tissues? Di sini. Right, this is the collenchyma tissues. Okay, zoom of this collenchyma tissues here. This is what we expect to see. Right, next, cells are elongated. Okay, they are elongated. This is the cross section. This is the longitudinal section of the cell. Right, that's why the cells are elongated. When we do a cross section of the collenchyma tissue, we can't really see, all right, how elongated they are. But when we do a longitudinal section, okay, we are able to observe that these collenchyma cells are elongated. Boleh nampak Okay. Now, their cells are compact, alright, no intercellular space, alright. Okay, kalau ada pun sangat sedikit, okay. But we, for your level, we assume, alright, the cells are compact, alright, without intercellular space. Very flexible tissues that provide support in soft, non-woody plant organs, alright. Okay, now distribution, all right, below the epidermis of young eudicot stem, just below the epidermis, like here. This is the epidermis. So this is the collenchyma, where they are located, right, below the epidermis of young eudicot stem, beneath the epidermis of the main vein of eudicot leaves. Okay, so if this is an eudicot leaves, all right, eudicot leaf, this is where the collenchyma can be, where this is where the collenchyma tissues are located, right, beneath the epidermis. Okay, so senang cerita, dalam stem, these collenchyma tissues are beneath the epidermis. In the leaves also, they are beneath the epidermis. All right, and then function to provide elastic support okay, elastic support to the stem or the leaves of young eudicot plants, okay, and produce cocambium in the eudicot stem that undergoes secondary thickening. Okay, so itu function Collenchyma tissues. Alright, so again you can see the Collenchymas are here. Right, this is the epidermis. Okay, this is the Collenchyma. This is the Parenchyma. Right, I mentioned they are located in the cortex. This Parenchyma. Okay, this is the phloem, this is the xylem, this is the Parenchyma. Okay, ini pun Parenchyma nih. Alright, Parenchyma, ini pun Parenchyma. It's a Parenchyma. Okay, ini Collenchyma. Alright. Okay, so to conclude, how do you know this is a Parenchyma? How do you know this is a Collenchyma? Because of this nucleus. Right, this nucleus here. Ini tiada nucleus ada. The thing is, when they do this cross section, the nucleus is maybe is behind here, di belakang sini. So it's not shown here, it's behind there. And for this, apparently the nucleus is in front, so you are able to see the nucleus here. All right. Now, Sclerenchyma. Okay, these are simple tissues specialized for structural support of mature plants. Okay, and they have both primary and secondary cell walls. Okay, there are two types of Sclerenchyma. Now, the first one is fiber cells. Can you see the fiber cells here? Okay. And the other one is stone cells. This is stone cells, and they are also known as sclerates. Okay, now when it comes to fiber cells, they are long tapered cells that occur in patches or bundles or layers. Now, this is a cross section. That's why you seeing these fiber cells. They are like spherical, but actually they are elongated. Okay, they are long tapered cells. When you do a longitudinal section, this is not what you will be seeing or observe. Okay, they memanjang. So fiber cells, they are long tapered cells that occur in patches, bundles or layers. Okay, found beneath the epidermis, right, beneath the epidermis and in the bundle sheets of monocot stems and leaf, right, bundle sheets found on the outside or inside the phloem of eudicot stem. Now, for the stone cells or sclerates, okay, they are stone shaped cells. That's why they are known as stone cells. Macam batu kan. Okay, and then common in the shells of nuts and pits of fruits. Okay, so since they are present in the pits of fruits, right, so it gives gritty textures to fruits such as pear due to the presence of clusters of sclerates. When you eat pear, what do you feel when you chew, when you bite, when you're grinding those flesh of pear? Ada rasa macam gritty kan? Yes, because actually you're biting, alright, you are munching the sclerates. Okay, there will be a picture juga. After this, you go buy pear and then you try to munch on the pear. Alright. So now when we look at the structure of the sclerates, you can see, okay, they have nucleus. Okay, and then they have secondary cell wall. You can see the secondary cell wall here. Alright. And then they have cytoplasm, and then they have pits. Right, this is the pits. Ini pits, yang garis-garisan ni ialah pits. Okay, ni ialah pits yang garis ni, pits. Now, when matured, right, these Sclerenchyma cells, they are dead, right, and lack of protoplast. Kalau tengok sini, yang ini tiada protoplast tau. Yang this particular stone cell, they don't have protoplast. Okay, protoplast is the nucleus and cytoplasm of the cell. Tiada cytoplasm, tiada nucleus. So this is a matured sclerate. This is a young sclerate because it has the protoplast, which is the nucleus and the cytoplasm. Okay, so this is matured. matched. Young as well. Young sclerenchyma cells or young stone cells. Now, why these sclerenchyma cells, they are dead when matured? Because the deposition of the lignin in the primary cell wall. Okay, yang merah ni semuanya lignin. Meaning to say, when matured, they are fully lignified. Okay, the sclerenchyma cells are fully lignified when matured. Okay, so ini primary cell wall. Okay, tu kamu yang masih confused, primary cell wall and secondary cell wall. Okay, yang sini ni ini primary cell wall, yang ni secondary cell wall. Okay. Okay, sorry, let me clarify that. Ini primary cell wall, yang di luar ini. Okay, yang di dalam ni ialah secondary cell wall. Okay, luar ni primary cell wall, yang dalam ni ialah secondary cell wall. Okay, so this deposition of lignin, okay, is inside both primary and secondary cell wall. Okay, now the secondary cell walls are strong and hard because of the extreme thick deposits of lignin. Okay, so both primary and secondary cell wall are highly lignified. Now, this causes the cells cannot be stretched and incapable of elongation. Okay, incapable of elongation. Have cell walls with many pits. Okay, this is the pits. Okay, thin areas where secondary cell wall did not develop. So this to allow exchange of substances between adjacent living sclerenchyma cells. Lumens are very small and empty. Okay, cell walls have thickened secondary layers made from cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Okay. Functions to provide support for the plant body. Okay, so in this picture here, okay, you can see, okay, where these parenchyma cells are located, right? And then this is the sclerenchyma, okay, and usually the collenchyma will be up here, okay, slightly above the sclerenchyma. Okay. Alright, to differentiate these three, okay, you can see how the parenchyma cells look like, right? Then the collenchyma, okay, and then the sclerenchyma. Now, class, when it comes to collenchyma, yes, their primary cell wall is thickened, right? But the thickening of their primary cell wall does not consist of lignin, right? Sclerenchyma is the only cells, right, cells or tissues that has thickening or this deposition of lignin, right, or thickening of cell wall due to lignin, right? Or you can say sclerenchyma is the only cells that has lignified cell wall. Collenchyma tidak, dia tebal tapi ni ialah cellulose. Okay, thickening of their cell walls are because of the deposition of the cellulose. Okay. Alright, so longitudinal section, you can see the fibers, the fiber cell. Okay, they are long and tapered. Okay, cross section, obviously the fiber you will be seeing a spherical type cell. Okay, and this is stone cell. Okay, that have the canal pits. This is the pits. Okay, so that's it for today. Right, in the next video we will be discussing about the vascular tissues.